Alright, I've put my model engine on the back burner. I've got myself a new interest. Probably a mad thing to do at my age, but this is it. A 1971 Mgbgt. Took me a while to find it, but it's in pretty good condition. Had a lot of fun learning to change gear again after 12 years of automatics. But and these garages from the 1960 house is pretty small, so I don't have a lot of room to work on it. But we'll see. Well, this is under the bonnet, twin carbs, and for those not familiar with MGBs, this is a 4-speed gearbox with electric overdrive in 3 and 4. And as you can see, there's a big hole at the back because I've got the heater box out. After I've been driving it for a few days, enjoying it and learning to change gear, I found that the cab was getting very, very hot, and whatever I did to the heater controls didn't stop it. So the heater box is out being refurbished. One of the things that's been fitted to the car, which I'm very grateful for at my age, is this here, and goes up to that black box. That's power assisted steering, which was from the MG Owners Club, I believe. That in the far corner is the power assisted braking, so everything seems to be okay. But anyway, I'm working on the heater at the moment. The heater is quite a simple system. It takes the coolant from the engine and pumps it through this system in one end and out the other, and this is really just the same as a radiator. It's got flat tube, thin tubes here which keep the flow through, and all these little fins of very, very thin copper absorb the heat, and this fan blows the hot air into the cab. So it's quite simple, really. The temperature is controlled by the amount of water that flows through, and that's with this device, which is simply a tap, and the tap is controlled by a wire which is ordinary Bowden cable, and on the other end there's a knob, something like this one, and then as it turns, so you allow more and more water to go through and therefore raise the temperature. So it's quite a simple device, really. The problem was that when I came to clean it out, this heat exchanger was absolutely blocked up with a thick sludge, rusty sludge, instead of the nice pink antifreeze that it should have been. And it took me an hour and a half to get all these very thin columns actually clear. And eventually, of course, it ran, so I got clear water. And then I came to this tube which connects to one of these, and went to wash it out, and the water wouldn't actually pass through. It was solid rust. So because it's flexible, of course, it wasn't difficult to break it up, and with the aid of a toothbrush soon cleaned it up. There's a second control. That's this one. It just directs the airflow through the cab where you want it, and it comes through from these two holes which are connected to two tubes which come through from the bulkhead. It's just a simple flap valve. Works with the same principle with the wire, and it operates this flap valve. This is the old tap, and you can see all that pink, that's the antifreeze. And it looks as though it has come through here. It's just a simple diaphragm inside, and it's folded over to seal the joint. Now whether it rusted up solid and the pressure was enough to make it burst through here, I don't know. But rather than risk fitting it and then finding it doesn't work and having to redrain the system again, I bought the new one. Well, there's the heat exchanger in the box, protected and held in place with this sponge. And now the lid just simply fits on top like so, and it's held in place with these spring clips, 4 of them, and I've got to press that down and make sure everything seals all round, and then put the clips on. It's one of those jobs where 2 people would be useful, and I'm going to use these clamps to hold it together. Well, it was going together quite nicely. Wasn't as difficult as I thought, and unfortunately one of the springs suddenly went flying off, and it's somewhere in amongst all that lot, and so far I haven't been able to find it. Those 2 tubes connect the hot air to the vents in the windscreen for defrosting. They weren't apparent when I took it apart. Somehow they got dropped off and they were just lying there inside. Those 2 tubes connect with these 2 holes on the side of this box. The box is just has 2 positions really, apart from the off. There's a halfway one where it's the interior of the car, and then when it goes right across to the other side like that, it blanks it off, and now all the hot air comes out of here and goes to the windscreen and defrosts it theoretically. It's just a simple flat valve. Now I discovered that there should have been a foam block like this one inside, but it was completely missing. Somebody had just bunged everything back in together and done it all up and hadn't bothered to make sure it was working. So I've had to buy a new one, and it's come with this very solid rubber block and an extra sealing piece along here to make sure it's all as tight as possible, and stuck together with impact adhesive. So all I have to do now, when my new clips arrive, because I couldn't find it, and incidentally it's 5 clips not 4, I'll just have to wait until they come, and then I've got to fit it. I'm not quite sure how that's going to cope with that, and at the same time I've got to get this cable to go up through a hole and up into the cab. Well, there it is, the heater now completed and working. I've taken around the block and tried it out. I flushed the system out and refilled with coolant. This on to the next job. The rubber block was just too big to go in the hole by 6mm, and as the man said, you might need to do a little trimming. Well, obviously the block is the right size once fitted right at the bottom of the sort of square tank that it sits in, which got a sloping side. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a way of fitting it in the bottom without being able to get my hands in there. So I had to remove the 6mm from the top of the block, which was tapered. And to do that, I used an angle grinder and one of those sanding wheels. I soon shifted it. Bit by bit it gradually went in, but in the end I had to oil it on the surface, and then it slid in quite well, and then it was just a question of fitting all the hoses again. I don't know whether my normal subscribers are going to like this sort of change of direction. My apologies for those who think it's unfortunate, but that's the way it's going at the moment. I'm not sure how much I can do on this car because I'm going to be relying on my son to help me, and with the things at ground level it's a bit hard to get back up off your feet when you're 91. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching.